Do you ever feel like no matter how much you study, your grades just won't budge? Like you're putting in hours, but your brain is refusing to cooperate? The truth is, it's not about how long you're studying, it's about how you're studying. And the difference between struggling and thriving all comes down to study habits. So if you are ready to stop wasting time and actually see results, here are 5 game-changing study habits that will transform your grades. Let's get into it. If your idea of studying is just reading your textbook over and over and over again, yeah, we're gonna need to fix that. Because guess what? Your brain, it's lazy. If all you're doing is passively staring at your notes, your brain isn't working hard enough to actually retain anything. That's where active recall comes in. Instead of just reviewing material, you force your brain to retrieve the information, kind of like giving it a little workout. And the harder your brain works to remember something, the better it sticks. So, how do you actually do this? Simple. First, stop rereading your notes. They're not just going to magically sink in. Instead, quiz yourself. Cover up your notes and try to recall key concepts without looking. You can also try using flashcards or practice problems to test yourself rather than to just review the answers. And one of the best tricks, teaching it out loud. Pretend you're explaining it to someone, anyone, your dog, your cat, your plant, the empty void that is your room. Just drop the shyness and do it. The more effort your brain puts into pulling information out, the better it remembers it later. So ditch this passive reading and these passive study techniques and start actually challenging your brain and watch how much more you actually retain. Have you ever sat down to study for just an hour and then suddenly it's 3 hours later? Your brain is fried and you have no idea what you just read. Yeah, same. We've all been there. That's why the Pomodoro technique is a game changer. The problem with marathon study sessions is that your brain just isn't built to focus for hours on end. After a while, your concentration tanks and you end up rereading the same sentence 5 times without actually processing it. The Pomodoro technique fixes that. Here's how it works. You study for 25 minutes, just long enough to stay focused without burning out. Then you take a 5-minute break to rest and reset your brain. Then you repeat the cycle for a few rounds, and after 4, you take a longer break, about 20 minutes. The key, stick to the timer. If you tell yourself one more TikTok during your break, and suddenly it's an hour later, well, that's not the Pomodoro technique. So use your breaks wisely. Stand up, stretch, grab some water, take a rest instead of getting sucked into distractions. And if 25 minutes seems too short or too long, you can adjust it. Some people do work best with 50-minute blocks. Other people prefer the shorter sessions. It usually allows you to go longer. The goal is structured focus and not just forcing yourself to sit there for hours. I do have a whole playlist of guided Pomodoro techniques, both on the channel and on my website. I am going to link them down in the description, and they can also help you to keep track of your focus sessions and your breaks. Just work smarter, not longer, and that way you'll get way more done without the burnout. Okay, look, I get it. Cramming the night before feels productive. You're highlighting everything, you're flipping through notes at lightning speed, and convincing yourself that you'll remember it all by morning. But here's the truth. Your brain actually remembers way less than that. Instead of shoving everything in at the last minute, spaced repetition spreads your studying out over time, giving your brain multiple chances to review and reinforce the material, and that is what makes it stick. Here's how to do it. On day 1, learn the material. Actually engage in it. Remember those active recall techniques. Don't just skim. On day 3, review it. Quiz yourself, go over notes, or even use some flashcards. On day 7, test yourself again. By now, your brain has had multiple chances to recall the information, making it way easier to remember it when it actually matters, like during that exam. And if you want to make it even easier, there are apps like Anki and Quizlet that help to automate spaced repetition for you, showing you flashcards right before you're about to forget them. The more you revisit the info before you forget it, the easier it sticks. So instead of panicking the night before an exam and trying to relearn everything all at once, space it out and you'll actually remember it without that stress. If you think you know something, try to teach it to someone else. Because if you can't explain it simply like you would to a 5-year-old, you don't really understand it yet. That's where the Feynman technique comes in. Named after the renowned physicist Richard Feynman, this method forces you to break down complicated concepts in a way that even a 10-year-old could understand. And trust me, if you can teach something that simply, you truly know it. So, how do you do it? First, you pick a topic and pretend you're teaching it to someone, maybe a younger sibling, maybe a cat. If you start rambling or you get stuck, then that's a sign that you need to go back and review that section. If you do, go back and rewrite your notes in plain, simple language, no fancy jargon, no complicated textbook definitions, just the basics explained clearly. If you still struggle, identify those gaps in your understanding and go back and fill them in. This method works even better in study groups. And you know how I love to hate on study groups. Try explaining a concept to a friend, and if they get it, you've nailed it. If not, you found a weak spot that you need to work on. The goal is clarity. If you can break down a concept in a way that anyone can understand it, you will never forget it. So grab a friend, a sibling, or even an unsuspecting pet and start explaining. I know. It's tempting to stay up late cramming, running on caffeine, and sheer willpower. But if you really want better grades, sleep is not optional. Your brain needs it to lock in everything you've learned. Here's the science behind it. When you sleep, your brain goes into a memory consolidation mode. It sorts, processes, and strengthens everything you've studied throughout the day. But if you skip sleep, your brain doesn't get that chance to store that information properly, meaning that you'll forget things faster. So, how do you make sure that you're getting the sleep your brain actually needs? First off, aim for the standard 7 to 9 hours of sleep. No more pulling all-nighters and expecting to retain anything. Next, stick to a consistent sleep schedule, even on weekends. Yes, that means resisting the urge to scroll for 5 more minutes before bed and sleep in till 3. If you're exhausted, studying is way less effective. No matter how much material you try to cram in, a tired brain just won't absorb it. Here's a pro tip. Studying right before bed actually helps with memory retention. If you review a key concept before you sleep, your brain will process them overnight, making them easier to recall the following day. So, if you are sacrificing sleep for more study time, it's time to flip the script. A well-rested brain is so much smarter. So, here's the big takeaway. Small habit changes can lead to huge improvements in your grade. You don't need to study for hours on end or completely change your routine overnight. Just start with 1 or 2 of these study habits and you will see the difference. Which of these study habits are you already using? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you do not miss out on any future study tips. As always, now and forever, I hope you have an amazing adventure.